Hey guys, in this video we're going to be looking at Phil Heath versus Kai Green at the 2012 Mr. Olympia event. At this event, Phil Heath took first place, winning $250,000 along with the Sandow Trophy, while Kai Green took $100,000 and the second place medal. We're going to see if Phil Heath rightfully won this 2012 Mr. Olympia, which gave him the second Sandow Trophy and his second Mr. Olympia title, or if Kai Green should have dethroned him that night. Okay, a quick note before we begin the comparison. Be sure to stick around to the end of the video because that's where I'll reveal my final scorecard along with concluding thoughts as to why I chose who is the winner. Immediately we can see that both of these gentlemen are in phenomenal condition. Look at their quads. They're very diced and separated. Both of them have amazing calves, and their arms both look ripped and separated. Now the midsection for Phil Heath looks unaesthetic, but is smaller than Kai Green's. Kai Green's abs are very symmetrical, but he kind of has a bloated midsection. Kai Green's lats look to be a little bit bigger and flare out a little bit more than Phil Heath's. Now, if we look at their arms, Kai Green's arms may be larger, but I think there is an imbalance within his arms. If we look at Phil Heath, his arms are symmetrical, and they look very dry in comparison to Kai Green. Phil Heath also has these huge forearms, and Kai Green does not have these forearms. He has very thin forearms. So I think I'm going to give this first shot to Phil Heath because he presents a better overall package. Going into the front lat spread, I am once again impressed with both of these gentlemen's conditioning and muscularity. The first thing that I notice is that Phil Heath opens his legs in this pose. Kai Green, on the other hand, holds it like Ronnie Coleman used to, with his legs closed. This detracts from the overall size and width of his legs. Now, the thing that doesn't lack any width is Kai Green's clavicle. Kai Green's clavicles are huge in comparison to Phil Heath's. Phil Heath has always been known for having a bit of a narrower structure. Now, Phil Heath's arms look tremendous here, but that's not really something you want because his lats do not really look as big as they could because his arms overshadow them. In contrast, Kai Green's lats look very big because his arms, while being big still, do not overshadow this pose. Both of their midsections look amazing here and do not show any signs of distension. Phil Heath's chest does look a little bit more bulbous and full, but Kai Green's chest is striated and ripped. I think I'm going to have to give this shot to Kai Green because he's filling out this pose and has a little bit more width than Phil Heath. Now for the side chest pose, and immediately look at Kai Green's leg. It is almost dwarfing Phil Heath's. Kai Green's leg looks striated and huge and big. Look at the hamstring drop and the separation. Phil Heath's leg is tremendous and huge too, but not to the size of Kai Green's. Both of their midsections look okay. Kai Green's midsection does look a little bit, bloated here. Phil Heath's midsection looks in check, and man, you cannot see any detail in Kai Green's midsection, but you can see the abs peeking through for Phil Heath. Phil Heath's arms, while being a problem in the last pose, are big and huge and ripped, and they look great in a shot like this. Phil Heath has a huge chest as well, so nothing is really overpowered here. The striations in the far pec for Phil Heath look great, and the forearms on Phil Heath look amazing too. Kai Green has good conditioning as well. Look at the far pec and look at the striations in the leg once again. But his forearms are small. His pecs aren't really as big, and man, the lack of detail in the midsection really takes away from his shot. I think I'm gonna have to give this one to Phil Heath, even though Kai Green's leg is so huge. In the side chest pose, look at the triceps muscle for muscle between these two gentlemen. Kai Green's tricep is separated to a T, but look at Phil Heath's tricep. It is humongous. Not to mention, Phil Heath's arm is huge. The tricep, the bicep, the forearm, the shoulder, no match for Kai Green. And once again, Kai Green's midsection has no detail in it. Now, both of their legs look very good. Phil Heath's legs seem to almost to have, caught up to Kai Green's size and almost look bigger here. Kai Green's hamstring doesn't really present the same as it did in the other one. But that's not to say that both of their legs aren't tremendous and very competitive. Now, Phil Heath's midsection looks amazing here. It's never looked better in my opinion. The chest is, oh my goodness, it is hard and striated, and I just think Kai Green can't do anything really against that actual tricep muscle. So this is an easy win for Phil Heath in my opinion. This is just a little quick comparison between the Christmas trees and just to preview the back shots, but man, Look at the conditioning. Phenomenal on both of these guys. Let's see what they have in the rear lat spread. In this shot, Phil Heath and Kai Green both look amazing from the actual back. Now, let's start with the legs. The calves on both gentlemen are great. The hamstrings are also amazing for both of them. Look at the hamstrings. They're like steel cables, like piano wires here. The glutes, I think the glutes for Phil Heath look a little bit more diced than Kai Green's do, but that's not to say that Kai Green's are not diced. Now, if we start to look up, right, at the back and the arms, Phil Heath's arms are just huge. I don't think Kai Green can top that. I mean, Kai Green's arms do not look as big in this pose. Um, Now, if we look at the back itself, Kai Green is dense and wide, but lacks the detail and separation that Phil Heath has. Look at the detail and separation in the traps, the lower lats, the just everywhere, the arms. It's amazing. Uh, and Kai Green, he looks great, but the traps do not look as three-dimensional and do not stick out as much as Phil Heath's. Um, this is close because Phil Heath isn't as wide as Kai Green, but I think the detail and the hardness and the graininess that Phil Heath presents in this shot is enough, but it's close. So I'm going to give this to Phil Heath. In the rear double bicep, both men present phenomenal back development. Look at the hamstrings and glutes. Great, diced and separated. Kai Green's calves look great here. Now, if we look at Phil Heath's calves, they're good too, but really not as separated. But Phil Heath has some amazing forearms, and Kai Green does not have that good of forearms. Now, if we look at the back itself, look at Kai Green's traps in comparison to Phil Heath's. They are puny in comparison, and that's no diss to Kai Green, but it's true. Look at the difference. Now, Kai Green does appear to be wider in the back double bicep, but Phil Heath appears to be more dense in my opinion and to be a bit harder in the back. The arms, Kai Green has some really big arms, but Phil Heath's arms look more separated. You can see that split in the brachialis, the tricep, and the bicep very clearly here. I think I'm going to have to give this one to Phil Heath because his overall package and presentation is amazing. It doesn't really have any lacking body parts, while Kai Green has lagging forearms and lagging traps, which hold him back in this shot. In the abs and thigh shot, we'll take a look at the calves first, which are good for both men. Now, as we move up to the quads, Phil Heath has big and separated quads, but lacks the feathering that Kai Green has. And while Kai Green has feathering, he lacks the separation that Phil Heath has. The abdominals for both men are presentable, but Kai Green has a better abdominal genetic makeup. Phil Heath, while looking good in this pose, has, abs that don't really look that aesthetic and also just genetically aren't that good. He has a four pack and it's not really that symmetrical. Not to mention, his structure really is very narrow, which takes away from creating a good V taper in a pose like this, even though he has some very nice flaring lats. Kai Green, on the other hand, has amazing flaring lats as well and is wider. And his striations in the quad really put it over the top. Even though he doesn't have the same separation in the legs, I think Kai Green is winning this pose because of the overall width and abdominal superiority. The last pose of the night, the most muscular, is an instant victory for Phil Heath. Phil Heath has huge dominant arms, huge dominant shoulders, and shoulders that go perfectly into the chest. But if we look at Kai Green, it's like the exact opposite. Where are his triceps? Where are his forearms? His biceps seem to be really dominant here. His shoulders are pretty lackluster. His chest looks good, but his midsection looks a little bloated here. Phil Heath, no distension really. He looks good. The legs, once again, for Kai Green do not seem as separated. And in a pose like this, where Kai Green isn't winning in the upper body handily or in the abdominals, which don't really play a role here, this is a dominant victory for Phil Heath in this shot. To conclude this matchup, I'm going to tally up all the points and reveal the final scorecard, which you guys can see on screen right now. I had Phil Heath winning the front double bicep, the side chest, the side tricep, the rear double bicep, the rear lat spread, and the most muscular, while Kai Green won the front lat spread and the abs and thighs. For anyone that thinks I am completely wrong and that Kai Green should have won or should have won other poses, I want you guys to know that both of these guys were really close in most of the poses. I think Kai Green just had a little too many flaws in this comparison in comparison to Phil Heath, who genetically speaking was much more dominant than Kai Green. That being said, Kai Green definitely kept up with Phil Heath in this comparison and presented an amazing world-class physique. I really think the judges made the right call crowning Phil Heath the 2012 Mr. Olympia, and I think Kai Green rightfully deserves second place. I mean, he really did bring a phenomenal package, but Phil Heath brought an even better one. Once again, I just want to make it clear that even though the score says 6-2, there could have been some poses that could have gone either way, like the front double bicep and the rear lat spread. Potentially. Don't come at me with that one. That's just the potential one. So, thank you for watching this video. If you made it to the end, it really means a lot to me. Now, please let me know in the comments what you guys thought about my comparison. If you guys think that I got it wrong, whatever, anything, any thoughts, leave it down below. Now, if you liked the video, consider liking and subscribing. I do appreciate it. And once again, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.